opening your own front door without a key, quote, is probably extremely attractive for many, especially in the era of smart homes. However, for those who are not blessed with their own house, but instead have other tenants in the building, meaning they have to open 2 front doors, this seems rather distant. Equipping the lower front door with technology like a Nuki switchboard or a tidy lock is not so easy, especially if the other tenants do not agree. Of course, you can equip your own front door with such a lock without any problems. However, it doesn't help me if I have to open the door downstairs with a key, only to then open the door upstairs with my phone. In this video, I will show you how you can still make the lower door smart and thus open both doors with your phone. There are various ways to open the front door with a smartphone. First of all, you naturally have to ask yourself, how can I install technology without disturbing the other tenants? And in principle, it's relatively simple because the smart home has the advantage of being in your own home, and currently each of you can also open your front door. If a guest is at the door or the DHL delivery person, you don't want to run downstairs every time to open the front door for them. Instead, you have an intercom system for that purpose. This intercom system usually has a button that you can press to open the front door, and it's precisely this button that we can take advantage of. Nuki has a relatively simple solution for this, namely the so-called Nuki opener, a small box that can be attached to the intercom system, allowing you to open the front door downstairs via the Nuki app, as well as the door upstairs in conjunction with the Nuki lock. This way you can open the front door with your smartphone directly from a single manufacturer. The downside of the Nuki opener, however, is that it is not compatible with every intercom system. The older intercom systems, which are relatively simple and basically just bridge a contact to open the door, can usually be automated with it. However, you also have to unscrew the intercom system, find the right wires, attach them to the Nuki opener, and so on and so forth. Of course, once it is installed, it is the most solid solution you can find. However, I already have a small problem. For example, because I have a Gira intercom system, and Gira, as a good German manufacturer, has devised its own bus system, which is supposed to be as tamper-proof as possible. Accordingly, this protocol cannot be easily read, and consequently, the Nuki opener is not compatible with it. One could probably try to dissect the entire protocol and somehow attempt to read the connection between the intercom and the base station, which is located somewhere in the hallway. However, in my opinion, there is a much simpler solution, and that is the SwitchBot. Because SwitchBot, before they brought all these smart home devices to the market, started with a simple, pusher, as I would call it. Back then, it was advertised for coffee machines, for example, but ultimately it's just a device that is supposed to press buttons for you. This SwitchBot can easily be attached to all sorts of objects with a very, very strong adhesive tape, allowing it to press buttons. Accordingly, I took it and installed it on the Gira intercom system, which can now be diligently pressed by my SwitchBot. However, that's just step 1, because theoretically, I would now have to always open the SwitchBot app, then trigger the SwitchBot in the app, go upstairs, and then I could normally unlock the front door via my Home Assistant. To integrate all of this into Home Assistant, I took an ESP32, created a new device via ESP Home, selected ESP32, and then inserted this line into the ESP Home configuration. This line turns the ESP into a Bluetooth proxy, which means that through its Bluetooth connection, the ESP helps Home Assistant to send and receive Bluetooth signals. I then installed this ESP near the Gira lock, allowing it to communicate with the switchboard, and we can subsequently find the switchboard among discovered devices in Home Assistant and integrate it directly and natively into Home Assistant. This way, I can now directly open the front door with Home Assistant using a clever automation, namely a helper that I can press to open the front door and a timer. So I basically opened the door downstairs once, went up the stairs and checked how long it takes me to get to the top. Afterwards, I inserted this time into my automation, allowing me to set it so that the door downstairs opens first and then after a certain time, the door upstairs opens. This way, I can open both doors directly with a single button press. In principle, we have already completed the doorbell automation with this. Now, I also wanted to know if someone else is standing at the front door so that I can, for example, open the entrance door for the DHL delivery person who can then leave the package in the hallway, making it at least safe within the neighborhood. For this, Kira also has a button that starts blinking when the doorbell is rung. And I took advantage of this blinking with a light sensor, which I connected to the ESP in such a way. And this ESP home config, which I just had to add. After that, I reflashed the device and installed the ESP directly on the intercom system so that the light sensor points exactly at this button. And now I receive the values of the brightness sensor in Home Assistant, and I can adjust the value at which the brightness sensor detects that the button is blinking. And now I can create a second automation where I get a notification sent to my phone when the doorbell rings. And with that, we already have the second automation. Theoretically, I could now also build an automation that opens the front door completely on its own when I arrive. Or I could even build an automation that, with the help of the Home Assistant app and my location checks, when I have arrived in my home area and press the doorbell button, both doors are automatically opened. Thus, I have the timing almost perfect. However, I personally do not have this automation actively running because it seemed too risky to me to open the front door automatically. I prefer to wait for Apple's ultra-wideband. A brief explanation, because that might have been a bit short. Apple's ultra-wideband is actually not from Apple, but developed together with Apple, and it is supposed to ensure that as soon as the phone is nearby, the front door can recognize it and automatically unlock. I hope that somehow the whole thing will be released, explaining how the standard works. And then, hopefully, there will be an open source project that allows you to recreate the whole thing yourself, where you can simulate a lock that you can install on the front door. This should then hopefully make it possible to retrofit any front door with ultra-wideband and open it accordingly without having to use your hand. As soon as that's put the case and it's available in some open source manner, I would probably build my own device that opens my front door using ultra-wideband. But until that happens, I simply use the Home Assistant helper to automate the opening of both front doors. Lastly, as always, an Amazon gift card for my most loyal viewers. Thank you so much for watching the video up to this point. And for those who couldn't redeem this Amazon gift card and haven't subscribed yet, feel free to click that button. That would really help me and improve this statistic a bit, and you might have the chance to snag the Amazon gift card next time. Thank you for watching. We'll see each other again in the next video. Take care. Until then, have a good one and goodbye.